Hello again. It's been a strange week because here in the UK things have opened up again, non-essential shops and sunshine's out. People have been hitting beer gardens. It's been interesting and a lot of people have enjoyed it. Me, I would rather hide away from people and enjoy movies in the darkness, but that's me. But I didn't get to go shopping. So CEX, as many people know, is good and bad. So The Assassin, I've heard good things about, and Mr. Vampire. Mr. Vampire was £15. The disc is in good condition. The Assassin 350 disc is not the way I would keep it. But my girlfriend did try and buttonhole me. Is that the right phrase? Yeah, I think so. To insist that I could get Mr. Vampire cheaper on Amazon. And I said to her, I was like, yes, for the sake of 11 pence, I could. But as we saw when we were walking around the shopping centre, so many physical retail spaces are gone. And as much as I like shopping online and finding a bargain, and I'm sure many other movie buyers like the same thing, it's good to get out there and browse and see things in person. Have the interactions, roll your eyes at people who can't simply follow walk left signage. It's difficult keeping the mask on. It gets a bit like a sunny day like today, gets a bit sort of warm and feeling a bit restrictive, but it's for the greater good. The greater good. And, you know, we all want things to be as normal as possible as soon as possible. So I would say if you can afford to, go out and have a little shop. It's fun. I also, of course, went to HMV. And Guy Till was laughing because I did say I had missed the impulse purchases at the counter. But I got 3 seasons of True Detective for £24.99. I tend to buy a lot of TV stuff on DVD because it's just easier to have more machines you can watch it on. And I'm not always sitting down for the full cinematic experience. I've only ever seen season 1. I heard the mixed reviews for season 2. I think it has the potential to be good with that cast. And season 3, again, great cast. Mahershala Ali in there, and Stephen Dorff. Oh, I forgot. So I look forward to checking those out at some point. I'd picked up Body Melt because I kept thinking I'd seen Body Melt. It turns out I've seen Street Trash a number of times, but never actually Body Melt. So that one has been on my radar for a while. The 80s Scream Queens, I picked this up. It's actually a doubler. So I'm going to sell this on. But Nightmare Sisters, Deadly Embrace and Murder Weapon, you know, if you grew through the 80s as a horror fan and weren't enamoured with the actual Scream Queens of that time, Linnea Quigley, Michelle Bauer, Brinke Stevens, I'm sure there are others I'm forgetting, but they're the ones named here. They are great. I don't get this thing nowadays of people being labelled as Scream Queens because they've manned stalls at conventions or they've done photo shoots. I mean, maybe some of them have done a few movies to their credit, but it seems to be like in the 80s it was a well-earned label. You know, everyone from those just mentioned to Jamie Lee Curtis, you know, Danielle Harris has made their mark on the horror genre. Different actresses that might embrace or not like the label, but for better or worse, they were tagged as Scream Queens. Nowadays, I see, especially on social media, you know, like hashtag Scream Queens, and people are often sort of self-labeling because they know that will bring in a certain audience or a certain demographic or people who will then value them more. their opinion or their merchandise or whatever they're attached to. It's very strange. It's in and of itself, being a Scream Queen doesn't actually mean anything unless you know it's kind of the fans that give you that rather than you making that label for yourself to market yourself more. Although there are times where things can join. I think that maybe happened throughout the 80s with some of the Scream Queens that I still fondly remember. Like I don't begrudge anyone the hustle. I resent that sort of changing of the way Scream Queen has gone. So it was something the fans gave as a label, or it became apparent that these weren't the Scream Queens, and now it's a label people give themselves, and that's no, I don't like it. End grumpy man mode. Let's move swiftly on. Betty Jackie Chan, Operation Condor, which I think is it Armor of God 2. I was looking for Armor of God to go with this. Obviously, I couldn't find it, so that's a bit annoying. I'm maybe going to have to go somewhere and look online for Armor of God. Don't tell my girlfriend. Great stuff. Shaun the Sheep 1 and 2, because I've seen the first before. I think I own it somewhere and enjoyed it. I was like, you know what? For this double pack price, I've been meaning to watch the second for ages. I'll get it. Wasn't really a bargain price, but I'm like, I am happy to support Shaun the Sheep and all sheepy endeavours, and not just for the usual run of Scottish sheep gags. What else have we got here? Raw Force. I believe it was maybe Kevin Shields who mentioned this recently on a Cracked Reel podcast, and I mentioned Kevin's name because he was the one who encouraged me to get doing YouTube videos showing some of my movies and having a little ramble, because Kevin is the master of the ramble. Just get him started talking about any certification, you got a half hour of gold. It's but he mentioned Raw Force. It sounded like a delight. It sounded bonkers, and Kevin has been a good friend, I believe, a listener of Raiders of the Podcast for a while, and hopefully there will be some more crossovers between us at some point when we schedule it. I'd love to make the time to be there and cover some movies with Kevin, and I hope he comes back to the podcast. I think when he was on with us, it was an episode I missed, I believe, so that's a shame, and we'll look forward to that. And last but by no means least, Dreamboats and Petticoats. This book features the real story behind the popular songs and performers of the 50s and early 60s on which the musical Dreamboats and Petticoats is based. So this did not seem like anything in my wheelhouse, really, but there are a lot of names here that I recognise: Cliff Richard and the Shadows, the Everly Brothers, Tommy Steele, Marty Wilde, Adam Faith, Billy Fury. And I spoke to the guy in HMV who was serving me. I was like, you know what? I've missed impulse buys at the counter, especially with HMV movies or CDs or some books. It would always be like, you know, $2.99 or $3.99 if you've bought other stuff, and that's the kind of thing you don't get online. You can find everything for a bargain price online, but you feel more satisfaction if you're like, I've got an extra few quid and I'm going to pick that up. Bargain. That's it. It's part of the fun of being in the physical space. So when I started this weekend, I wasn't sure if I had anything to talk about on a video, and now being out shopping, it was my first time at the Metro Centre, which is huge, but also half of it is empty units now because obviously the impact of everything, which is a shame. But it's not somewhere I'll go to every week. I might go there once every 6 months, maybe. So when I do, I will like to have a splurge. I will. And I would encourage others to do the same if they can afford it. to make sure that we don't completely lose the physical retail experience to the online retailers who can always undercut because they don't have, you know, rent to pay for different units. They're just basically massive warehouses. They they often avoid lots of tax, and they, from what I've heard, treat their workers quite a bit worse, and will do everything to cut costs and um, undercut sellers to the point of them then taking over as the main seller. I mean, that's kind of what they do. They make a loss on a lot of products, similar to how Blockbuster would operate in the 80s and 90s. They had uh, units in so many areas where they would actually make a loss, but their presence was there on the high street, and they would want to muscle out the what people often call like the mom and pop stores, the little local independent video stores, or the big nemesis was Global Video, or different businesses. They would do that, and all we had left at the end tended to be Blockbusters, or if you were lucky, an independent video store that lasted out. In Edinburgh, there was the Magnificent Alphabet Video, and then, of course, Blockbuster didn't really compete enough with at first it was Love Film, I think, and then Netflix and the streaming. And when Blockbuster tried their hand at that, it was too little, too late. And we saw what happened then. So yeah, I don't cave into this big nostalgia for Blockbuster. I worked there for about a year, and the people were lovely, and there were staff that wanted to work there because they loved movies and wanted to help people. But the company itself and their ethics of sort of business practices weren't any that I would envy, I will say. But yeah, that's a tangent. Sorry. Do what you can, if you can, to keep physical retail spaces alive. It is a bit difficult going out at the moment and trying to stay socially distanced and keep your mask on, and watch your way about, especially if you're feeling anxious about these things. It's very difficult. I understand that. But if you can, I would just encourage you to go out there and enjoy the interactions you can have with other people as well. It feels very different compared to going to your local grocery store and getting your food and chatting to that person. It's very different to talk to someone about movies in a movie store, to talk to someone about shoes in a shoe store and look at a range, or picking out clothing or things that you're after. Talking with people who know that range of product compared to people who are manning tills to sell everything. It's good to talk to different people, as we've found out over the past year or so, and it's good to talk to people who know a little bit more than the huge sort of general stash that they're given to deal with. That's me for today. I am now going to take lots of photos of these to put on Facebook groups. I'm going to maybe wrap my pillow in the HMV bag and snuggle up. And I will complain about CEX if I put a disc in and it doesn't work. We're back to normality.